Hello, my name is James Thompson. I post on ttnut.com as AstroGoat760, and this is a video presentation on how to install KD713 and 714 knuckle couplers to TT scale rolling stock. I recommend the following tools for this particular task: needle nose pliers, a number 1 X-Acto hobby knife, some hobby screwdrivers, primarily flat tips, and a hobby drill and bits, primarily size 80, and a screw type drill if you have it. That way you can drill out holes in your cars and where else you need to mount couplers to. I also would recommend a tap set too, sized for a 00-80 screw. And also, last but not least, a KD number 702 assembly jig. This is not required for assembling the couplers, but makes the job a lot quicker and a lot easier and a lot faster. On this slide, you can see the differences between the KD 713 and 714 couplers. Other than coloration, they're perfectly identical. They'll couple up to each other with no problem. The only difference is, again, is coloration. I personally use the 713s more often on freight equipment and freight locomotives, on to the fact that they tend to get used and abused a little more, and they tend to have a more rusty appearance. I tend to use the KD 714s more often on equipment that's supposed to represent stuff that's been outshopped recently, as well as passenger equipment, as it usually is kept up in a little bit nicer condition. First step is to remove all the parts from the sprues, remove all the flash and burrs as necessary, and then using a needle nose set of pliers, install the trip pin into the top half of the coupler knuckle. That particular task itself does take a little bit of patience because the pin is a little small. Here's a picture of the two halves of the coupler knuckle assembled onto the trip pin. The bottom portion just slides right onto the pin. And you also make sure that you have it set right, because if not, the coupler will be backwards. Taking your KD 702 assembly jig and push back on the ram until it clicks. If you push down while you're trying to push back, it will not click. You need to let it sit upright until it clicks. Place the cover pocket into the jig as shown, and proceed to the next step. Insert the knuckle assembly into the coupler pocket, and then push down on the ram so it releases, which will lock the coupler knuckle into place. Make sure that the coupler is as straight as possible, otherwise it will be a little more difficult to install the springs. The next step is to install your springs. I use an X-Acto knife to slide between the spring, and I'll place it inside the gap in the coupler pocket, and use a small screwdriver, typically a flat tip, to release the spring into the coupler. Make sure that it sits flat and even with the coupler, otherwise it will not work properly. Then the next step after that is to install the coupler pocket lid, and I use a set of needle nose pliers to remove the coupler from the jig. Insert the mounting screw into the coupler, and then mount the coupler to the rolling stock item that you want to install the coupler to. Tighten down the mounting screw, making sure that when you are done, the coupler can snap back to the center position when you release the coupler. This may take a little trial and error. You want to make sure that the coupler is tight enough where it doesn't just swing freely by the drawbar, but also where it's not so tight that the coupler does not spring back to center. Then you're free to add the remaining parts to the car, such as trucks, top frame members, detail parts, what have you. Since the KD713 and 714 couplers are designed for HON3 scale, which sit a little taller, the trip pins are too tall for TT scale. As such, they'll need to be pushed down some and trimmed. Otherwise, the excess length will sag on one another. I use a pair of needles pliers hooked onto the top of the coupler and onto the bottom curved portion of the trip pin to bend the pin back as necessary. And then I'll use a set of trimmers to trim the trip pin flush. And I will make sure that before I'm done with the car, that the mounting screw is tight, but not too tight, where the coupler is able to snap back to center as pressure is released from it. And then clearance needs to be checked to make sure that the pin will clear the rails. If the pin is too long, it will snag on every single point in crossover and possibly derail the train, or at the very least stop the train, or possibly even damage the layout, depending on how bad it is. If the pin is too short, the car will have difficulty being uncoupled using magnets. For more information on TT scale, please visit www.ttnut.com. Thank you and have a nice day. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below.